I'm gonna turn this tiny Tic Tac box into a thriving ecosystem filled with real animals.
Because I've always wanted an ecosystem, but I don't got the money for all those big tanks and stuff.
But because the Tic Tac box is so tiny, if I screw up just one thing, I could risk all the animals dying. And we're dealing with real living beings here, not Minecraft animals. So, to make sure we don't screw it up, I'll be observing it for 7 days, making sure it survives. Now, the first step was collecting the stuff we're gonna put into the ecosystem. So I went to my local park and just stole a whole bunch of stuff, like this stick, some tiny rocks, and whatever this is, which hopefully was gonna look good in the ecosystem. But before we could actually build the ecosystem, we first had to clean up the Tic Tac box. So I emptied out all the Tic Tacs into a container. I actually tried eating them first, but I ended up just sneezing my lungs out. And then began trying to remove the sticker. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried removing one of these bad boys, but it's painful, because no matter how much you try to scrape everything off, there's still this annoying little greasy glue stuck on the box. So I had to do a little bit of research, and I found out you can actually use nail polish remover or rubbing alcohol to rub it off.
My love, do we have nail polish remover?
I don't have nail polish remover. I'm a man.
I can buy nail polish too. Come on now.
No, I'm unprogressive.
So I had to resort to drastic measures, buying it myself. I also cleaned out the insides too with a little bit of soap. Don't want no sticky, icky Tic Tac chemicals stuck in there killing all the animals, you know. Dried it off and boom! The Tic Tac box was nearly ready to be transformed. See, there are still a few crucial things I was missing if I didn't want all the animals to die on like day 1 out of 7. Which I really didn't. It has been my dream to own an ecosystem for so long. Plus, I don't want to have all those deaths on my hands. So I needed substrate, moss, and actual plants. Now at first I didn't think it was going to be that hard to get. I could just grab it from the pack I went to earlier. So I was just going to do that the day after. Little did I know the whole ordeal I was about to experience. So I went ahead and bought the animals we're gonna have living in the ecosystem, went to bed, only to wake up the next day realizing, oh crap, it's still snowing. Why is that a problem, you may ask? Well, that means all the dirt, moss, and plants are freaking frozen, so I can't grab them. My first thought was just to order it all online then, but I had already gotten the confirmation email from the place I bought the animals from that they'll be there in 2 days. And there's no way all the stuff we needed was gonna arrive before the animals. And if I couldn't transfer the animals over to the ecosystem as soon as I got them, there was a high chance they might just die in their packaging. So my only hope was that it would stop snowing and it would all melt throughout the night, so I gambled everything on that.
And that's why you gamble, kids.
So I went down to the park, grabbed the stuff I needed, and went back home to finally build the ecosystem.
It is time to build the ecosystem.
Now, we have to be really careful with how much we put in of everything, because a Tic Tac box doesn't have a lot of space. And we gotta make sure there's enough oxygen and space for the little animals we're gonna have crawling around in there later, or else they'll die. Now, the reason why I put these little rocks in there is because the moss and the animals both require water to live. But if I accidentally overwater the ecosystem, I could end up killing them instead. So by having these rocks right there, the excess water will just flow down in between the rocks and lay there gently. I also put this piece of plastic that I punched a bunch of holes into on top of the rocks to stop the animals from crawling down to the flooded rocks and dying by themselves. Now next up, I added the substrate, which normally is a combination of things like cocoa fiber, sphagnum moss, orchid bark, charcoal, and worm castings, which all comes together to provide a bunch of nutrients and other stuff to create the optimal environment for plants to grow and insects to thrive. But I don't got the budget for all of that, so I just used dirt. I also added these 2 little slopes on both sides, so that way when I put the moss on top of it, it'll hopefully look like 2 small little hills. Talking about moss though, there are many variations of moss, like the fern moss, which looks really great, but has a tendency to grow these like little tentacle looking things. Then there's the mood moss, which in my opinion looks even better, but also grows really quickly. And then finally, there's the cushion moss, which is very green and vibrant, plus it grows really slowly, which makes it perfect for our tiny ecosystem. I have no idea what the moss I grabbed is, but you know, it's probably fine. Now, if you didn't know, moss is actually a living organism, so technically, this is already a functioning ecosystem. I then spent the next 30 minutes trying to add in all the sticks and stones. And let me tell you, without the proper tools like tweezers, it's very hard. Now, originally, I wanted it to look like a swamp forest. I don't know why, I just did. So I tried adding little moss patches on top of the sticks to make them look like trees. And let's just say, that didn't quite turn out how I imagined. So instead, it's a dead forest, which I guess is pretty on theme with the box being made out of plastic. I also added the rocks in the middle to give the ecosystem some different colors. And after a lot of struggling, it was completed.
Ta-da! Beautiful, right? Now all that's left is to add the insects.
Which, I can't lie, I was pretty scared about. Because while I had done a bunch of research on these little fellas, I was still scared there wasn't gonna be enough oxygen, the Tic Tac box was gonna be too small, and all the animals were gonna die of stress. Or I was gonna mess up midway through taking care of them, killing them all. This was my first time taking care of an ecosystem after all. But there wasn't really much I could do in this situation anyway, so even with all my worries, I picked up the package with all the animals in it and continued.
Alright, it is time to add the insects. Look at them moving around there. Look at them.
Now, the animals we're adding to the ecosystem are called springtails. These tiny little fellas are great. They don't need a lot of oxygen, they eat mold and decaying matter, keeping the ecosystem clean, and they're hydrophobic, meaning they can walk on water. Wouldn't be surprised if Jesus was actually just a springtail in disguise.
Now, normally they come in like charcoal boxes, but mine came in dirt. So, if I open up that box right there, there is a high likelihood that they're all just gonna escape and crawl around the table and like everywhere in the apartment. And I don't want that, so let's do it in the bathroom. All right, let's first start off by opening up the ecosystem. Then let's remove the seal of the box. That probably just gave them a little earthquake. I'm so sorry, little guys. All right, let's open the box up. Please don't let too many escape. There they are. Oh my God, they're jumping. Look at them jump. I don't know if the camera can even see that. Okay, let's just grab a little bit here. And let's just get them in there. There we go. They're in. And now let's put this on. Boom. Look at that. They're in there. Look at them moving around. Oh, they're low-key kind of cute even though they're insects. I can't lie. All right, time to observe them for 7 days.
Now, day one was pretty chill. I just let the springtails crawl around and get used to their new home, so nothing really happened there. Day two though, day two was exciting, because that was feeding day. Now, like I mentioned, springtails eat mold and decaying matter. Sadly though, I don't got mold or decaying matter just laying around, but there is an easy fix for that.
Rice, just uncooked rice. Well, not so much the rice, more the mold that goes on the rice. So, yoink. Let's just grab one singular rice corn. Actually, no, I'll spoil them. I'll give them 3. Are you all fellas ready for food? I think they are. So let's just pop open the lid. Hopefully none of them escape. And then let's just rice corn down. Close up. Look at that. Enjoy, my little fellas. Enjoy.
Now, on day 3 though, I began noticing something. It seemed like there was less springtails than usual, but whenever I just moved the ecosystem a little bit, they would come crawling out from their hiding place, so I didn't think much of it. Day 4, I got a little bit bored, I can't lie, because like,
I can't really see them eating the rice. I don't know, it's just rice. It's hard to see them eating. So I was thinking, what if we give them a little carrot?
So I peeled the carrot, cut it up into human-sized bites, only to remember that I'm not dealing with humans here, I'm dealing with insects, so I cut them even further into insect-sized bites.
Let's add that into the ecosystem, which we'll do in the bathroom because I don't want them all over my apartment.
I then put them back to the little spot and watched them discover what a carrot is. Oh, and don't worry, I'm also feeding the original colony we got the springtails in. Now, on day 5, we got an uninvited visitor. It looked like this devious little guy was trying to get into the ecosystem, but after a lot of failed attempts, just slithered away. But once again, I felt like there was less springtails in there than usual. So I moved it, and yes, some came crawling out, but less than usual. Or at least that's what my gut instinct was telling me. I didn't actually have any proof of it at all until day 6.
All right, so I was watching back the footage from day 5 when I noticed something really bad. So notice how when I take the ecosystem up, there. Look at that. That, my friends, was a springtail that had escaped. I don't know how they did that. I had that container sealed shut unless I was out in the bathroom opening it. They must have like crawled out of the box around and sat on the wall and some place it back into, you know, the pot. And then it must have just escaped out like that. Because how, they can't open up a Tic Tac lid, can they? I don't know. But I should probably do something about that, shouldn't I?
So I taped the lid shut. Don't worry though, I open the lid every day to give them some fresh air. And we'll continue to do so after the video ends. Now, on day 7, nothing really happened. It was just a nice, easy final day. So, let me take this time to mention,
I will still be taking care of both the Tic Tac ecosystem and the original ecosystem, even after the video's over. But this is proof you don't need all that big equipment that you see all these YouTubers have. Honestly, if you find any of the stuff that I did in this video interesting, I highly recommend you going out and building your own ecosystem. You don't even need all those animals and stuff that I have put in there. You just need a little bit of moss and some plants. But if you do put animals in there, just make sure you research them so they don't die. And if you do end up making one, send it over to my Discord server. I just made it literally today. And I know every YouTuber says this, but I promise you, I am actually active on this Discord server. So if you want to speak to me, well, here's your chance. But honestly, that's it for me. Hope you enjoyed the video. Toodaloo!
Subscribe, yeah, you really should subscribe, yeah. Just like, yeah, you really should just like, yeah. Please comment, yeah, that really will be fire. If you don't, then I will find you, and I will force you to do it. Thank you.